Yeah, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can stay
Oh,
screen.
Yes,
perfect.
sir.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to start. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. My name is Greg DeBoer. I'm a senior business analyst. I've got about a decade of experience, as a BA, and I've worked majorly in financial institution. So mostly banks. So I worked in Barclays for just about 5 years. I moved to NatWest, where I also worked as a senior business analyst and gained most of my skills in identity access management and also in privilege access management. I also worked in digital identity, where I led the initiative with a couple of other banks. So, your top four banks, Barclays, HSBC, NatWest, and Santander as well. And I also work with several financial institutions and third parties in there. I've also worked within the realm of cybersecurity for a retail institution, so ASDA, where we help them to, sort of improve the identity access management within that team. So it was sort of a team that was just building out sort of the identity management field, and I came in there to sort of help build out that team. Um, so I'm just going to just walk you through my slides. I'm sure that has been shared. I'll put that in presenter mode so it's clearer to everyone. Perfect. Just a quick poll, just to really gauge, everyone's sort of, knowledge in business analysis. If you could just, let me know what your level is. If you feel you're a beginner, again, that's, what a beginner is, and if you feel you are intermediate or you're advanced level, just to have an understanding, of, everyone's level right now. If you could just type in the chat. Perfect. So I'll just obviously take note of that, while I'm going through some of the different discussion points and try to break things down a little bit if I'm sometimes I get a little bit too technical to try to break it down. So, we are able to cater to everyone's abilities. So in today's webinar, the discussion points are going to be, we're going to be looking at the role of business analysis. So who's a business analyst? What are the roles and responsibilities of a BA? The types of BAs. We're going to look at the skill development. So what are the skills required for a BA and some of the tools that are used by BAs? We'll look at career insights, in terms of, so this is going to be, the way this has been structured is it's going to be at different slides, through. So within the roles of a BA, you would see some of those slides embedded into that. So you'll see some of the career opportunities, the growth market, and the market trends. And I'm going to leave a big chunk of time to question and answer session. And again, please feel free if you have a question, type that in the chat. Moderator, because I can't really see the chat bot right now. So just let me know any of the questions that have been asked, and I'll be happy to sort of answer them. In all my slides, I like to, when I talk about BAs, I like to start with this, and this looks at, the purpose of a BA. So what's the purpose of a business analyst? I start with this quote, which is from the Business Analyst Manifesto. And it says, out of chaos, we create order. Out of disagreement, we create alignment. Out of ambiguity, we create clarity. But most of all, we create positive change for organizations we serve. Um, this basically is the ultimate goal, of a business analyst. This is the true north, is the catalyst for positive change. Basically, we want to make all that changes whenever we move to an organization. It's about really creating value, driving improvements, and ensuring that business not only meets its current needs, but also is posed for future success. Now, this manifesto generally is a rallying cry for business analysts out there and a reminder of the noble purpose behind the analysis, our diagrams, our documents. And it's not just the processes and systems, it's also about the people that we impact and how we progress to propel most organizations. So who is a business analyst? I try to put this in all the infographics just to give a general idea of who a business analyst is, so we can sort of get a good understanding. So as you can see in here, business analyst works as a liaison among stakeholders in order to elicit, analyze, communicate, and validate requirements for changes to business processes, policies, and information systems. You can see in this nice picture, the business analyst sort of bridging the gap between what you say are your stakeholders and your developers, basically, sort of allowing that sort of meet, because there's usually a gap. And in most projects, what happens is due to not proper planning, you get most people falling within that deep because there's not an understanding of a project. So a BA is a person who carries out these tasks. So business analyst bridges the gap between stakeholders and developers. Now, as you can see down here, I have who, what, where, why, when, how, and given a sort of solution. So basically, what we are looking at: who is involved or who is affected, what are the needs or the problems, where does the need or the problem occur, why does it need, why do we need to address this, where does it need to happen, and how would this be done? These are some of the questions that we ask, ourselves as business analysts in an organization, and these are the questions that we try to find a solution to while we are working for an organization. So basically, as you can see, the BA sort of think about this like a puzzle. The BA tries to speak to different people within the organization and puts all that together, and they are basically the vital link in an organization, because what they do is they are able to answer most of the questions within the organization. They are able to turn problems into solutions, and they are able to turn challenges within the organizations into opportunities. So why BAs are needed? I put this clear example of why, in terms of a picture as to why BAs are needed. I'm sure, so in the UK, we've had several sort of, catastrophes in terms of different projects that have been built. In the US, I'm sure we have the same. In Nigeria, the same as well, where um, basically at the start, we look at a project from a perspective that we just want to build a project and implement a project. But then we find out that because not proper description, definition, planning has been done, we end up, creating what is not expected, or the end goal is very, it's not basically what we expected, or the actual plan of it. So what happens is there's a lot of rework that's been done, which is very late and very expensive. But now, due to business analysis and business analysts within a company, we have these different steps which the BA performs. So the describe, the define, the plan, and obviously we help in the build and the testing prior to implementation of a project. At this stage, is there any questions? If no, I'll continue. Um, so the roles and responsibilities of a business analyst. So this I just try to put them, in a graphical representation to just show you. Take a minute and have a look at it, and it gives you an example of what the roles of a BA does within a company. So as you can see in here, the business analyst involved in the planning, is involved in gathering of the requirements, is involved in understanding multiple solutions, support after implementation of a project, verification of a solution, knowledge transfer to developers, software document preparation, test case preparation, as is and to be scenario, We do lots of gap analysis, and we define a scope for the optimum solution within a company. If you see in the graph in here, you have the business analyst right in the middle, communicating with the owners or the sponsor of a project. The business analyst is also communicating with the project manager, communicating with the solutions developers, communicating with other subject matters and experts within the company. So if you look at if you look at the owners or the sponsors, they only communicate with the subject matter experts and the project manager. And also you have the developers only communicating with the business analyst and the project manager. So it's only the BA in the middle that communicates with everyone within the organization. So basically, most people think the BAs have to have a solution basically to any sort of task they're given or any sort of project, but it's not that the business analyst has the solution. It's because they communicate with different parts of the organization, and due to the techniques that we learn and the skills that we do have, we are able to understand how we're able to understand the problem, and then we're able to utilize some of those techniques and skills to put pen to paper, document what those problems is, and work with those problems and work with the different sort of stakeholders within the organization to be able to build solutions to that problem. In down here, you would see obviously the software development cycle from your initiation of a project to the requirements. Now, as BAs, obviously we document requirements, we design implementation. So we do the design, do the testing, and do the training strategies. And the construction here, as you can see, or some people call that the build. So during the build time, we create test case scenarios. So where we test some of those solutions that are being built. In the QA side of things, we do a lot of, also testing at that point, and user acceptance testing is also done. And any sort of training that is required, we also perform within that section. We also work on the implementation. So where obviously we do the system checkout and the PIRL during the closure. So again, as if that's not enough, just to look at the roles of a business analyst. Just take this picture into perspective, just to see what business analysts actually do. So we are obviously from a business perspective, you can see what we do from a technical perspective, from a managerial perspective, and also from a functional perspective. So from a business perspective, obviously you can see in there that we need to understand the business case and the objective. So grasp the fundamental reasons for initiating a project or a task, and the goals that we aim to achieve in there. In terms of analyzing and eliciting requirements, so we do this by investigating and drawing out the requirements from the stakeholders through various techniques. Some of these techniques, I think in future projects we'll talk about them, such as interviews, workshops or surveys. So I think this is also a good part, the eliciting of requirements. So this is why I say to most people, I've done lots of interviews in the past. When you do business analyst interviews, they are always pretty simple because you do not get any sort of awkwardness that you get with other disciplines. So for instance, I've done developer interviews, and because that or data analyst that is more data driven, so a lot of the questions you can get that awkward, but for business analysts, they're used to sort of that interview skills. They've all got those necessary skills that are required, and they also draw that out in an interview. So when you are in an interview scenario and you're interviewing a business analyst who is unable to talk, who is unable to sell his case, who is unable to negotiate, that is an immediate fail for a business analyst, because those are the necessary skill sets you're meant to have to be a business analyst. So yeah, we've also got the technical side of things as well. So perform technical analysis and evaluation. As in here, we assess technical aspects of a project. to ensure feasibility and ensure the implications of various technical choices. Um, we've also got in here create mockups and interfaces. So for the creating mockups and interfaces, what we do is we design and prototype user interfaces and experiences, helping stakeholders to visualize the end product. On the managerial side, I'll pick one or two of them. So we facilitate implementation through training. So help the organization adopt new systems or processes by providing training and support. We develop requirements, scope, and scope plan. So in here, basically, it's all about formulating a plan that outlines the requirements and the scope of the project, ensuring that all elements are clearly defined and agreed upon by the different stakeholders within the business. So you have multiple stakeholders within the business. By doing this, we need to make sure that every stakeholder is happy with the plan at every point, and every stakeholder, as you go through the sort of the life cycle of a project, they understand that any changes that will be done to the requirements. I'll pick also maybe one or two on the functional side of things. On the functional, I'll talk about, assisting in estimating project costs and time. So we help determine the financial and temporal requirements of a project to aid in planning and resource allocation. So this is usually, one of the tasks again, or one of the roles of business analysts. The impact of a business analyst on organizations. So business analysts have, we have several impacts in an organization. Improve efficiency, cost saving, better decision making, enhance customer satisfaction, strategic planning and risk planning. So for cost saving, obviously the insights that we get can lead to cost saving measures by identifying, it could be redundancies in the sort of the processes within the company, or it could be things like optimizing resource allocation. So this is where we use, and again, a lot of these decisions are data driven. So there's a lot of data analysis, in as a business analyst. That's also an important skill that you must have. So data analysis and obviously visualization. So that's why when you look at some of the skill sets, or when I take you through some of the skill sets of a business analyst, if you were in the data analysis meeting, you'll see there's a lot of similarities in between what business analysts do have and what data analysts have. Yeah, interesting. Now, so I put in here some. I'm going to talk through some case studies and examples, of where you have business analysts. So you've got business analysts in different sectors in the UK, or across the different countries. So in the health sector, in the IT industry, and in financial service sector as well. You've also got business analysts in retail. So for financial sector, an example would be, in a bank, a business analyst might be involved in digital transformation project. Their role could involve analyzing customer needs for online banking, documenting requirements for a new system, and ensuring that the implemented solution meets that requirement. The result is more efficient and customer friendly. When that is sort of the aim for having that sort of result. In health sector, for instance, a business analyst could work in a hospital setting where they measure the patient flow and identify any bottlenecks in the patient admission process. So they could do this by implementing a new streamlined process. The hospital can improve, which helps the hospital improve the patient satisfaction and also reduces the waiting time. In IT industry, again, there's lots and lots of roles for business analysts within the IT industry, and it's quite instrumental in like the development of like new softwares. And obviously, there's a lot. What some of the tasks that we do, gathering of requirements, specification of requirements. Um, we work in things like identity access management, again, privilege access management, cybersecurity as well. So a lot of the tasks that we do again in IT, and in terms of the names of business analysts, you would cut across several names, I think, which I would show you later on. This is also an interesting slide. Different business analysts. So again, this just gives you a flavor for the different types of business analysts that we have. So you have some people that refer to themselves as tech experts, so ITBAs, data analysts. They look at a lot of number insights. You've got your process analysts. They try to understand workflows, look at reports. For banking, for instance, a business analyst would go into a system. So it could be via SQL, it could be a database, build a number of reports and create insights from that report. You've got agile business analysts, who are generally project facilitators, financial business analysts who understand the strategies in money, and obviously in sort of the trading platform, you've got your financial BAs. You've got your medical healthcare BAs who are in the healthcare line as well, and they've got good domain knowledge of healthcare. You've in business intelligence as well, you've got insights creators and system analysts. So as you can see, we've got a different flavor. So when people just say, I'm a BA, it's not enough to say I'm a BA, because there's a broad range of BAs, and there's a broad range of different topics that we work on. That leads us to the evolution of BA and roles. Again, the reason I put the slides in is just to give everyone a flavor for, so when you hear the term, oh, I'm a BA or I'm a business analyst, what does it mean actually? And these are some of the roles that business analysis is evolving into. So take a minute just to look at the slide, look at the different sort of roles. So, you get somebody saying, I'm an auditor. There's an element of business analysis in audits. You get people saying, oh, the healthcare assistants, analysts, basically, they also have, a flavor of business analysis, and some of the skills and the techniques that we learn with the business analysis are used in majority of these roles in here. So that takes us to the skills required for BAs. Now I've been talking about skills throughout this. So these are some of the skills. So there are loads of skills that you require for BA, but these are some of the ones I've been able to put pen to paper on. So a good one, obviously, the first is analytical thinking and problem solving. So with this, you need to have creative thinking, learning, decision making, and problem solving. You need to have good business knowledge. So depending on what domain you are, so domain again is going back to, are you in healthcare? Are you in finance? Are you, where exactly are you? You need to have a good industry knowledge of that domain. So um, as a junior business analyst coming into an industry, you're not expected to have, that initial domain knowledge. But obviously, prior to doing an interview, you're going to do your research about a company, about a domain, because they're going to ask you all those questions. And when you do that, as you get into the organization, day by day, you learn and you ask questions, you listen to be able to get, this domain knowledge, which will be very, very useful in your role as a business analyst, because you would use that a lot. Interaction skills, obviously, very important. I mentioned about, BAs and interviews. So, there will be a lot of facilitation, there will be negotiation. You tend to negotiate with both the developers and the different stakeholders within the business. Sometimes the solution that one stakeholder wants might be very different from the solutions that other stakeholders want within a business. So you would have to speak to all the different parties or all the different stakeholders to understand what the different solutions are. And when you do that, it gives you a flavor from everyone's point of view. Then you're able to come back, create a robust solution, speak to the individual sort of stakeholders, and negotiate your solution with them. So this is where obviously negotiation and facilitation is really important. Teamwork is also a big part of business analysis, where most business analysts would never work in silo. So you would always work with teams, you work with developers, you work with project managers, you would work with Scrum Masters, you work with product owners. So there's a huge list or array of teams that you will work with. There's leadership and influencing, also very important. Communication skills. I'm going to also talk further on communication skills. Oral, listening, teaching, and writing, very, very important as a business analyst. And software applications. So you've got generalized and specialized. I'm not going to drill into some of the software application because I think they were taught in the last sort of webinar that was had, when we talked about data analysis, because we use a lot of interchangeable software. So it's quite similar between BA and data analysis, the sort of software that we use. Again, still on skills required for a BA. So I've put it in there, who's a good BA and who's a great BA. So if you're analytical, good communicator, very creative, that makes you a really good BA in an organization. But the big thing in a BA is, listening ability and curiosity. Because it's very, very important. If you don't listen well to your different stakeholders, you end up providing a solution that is not required and does not meet the goal of all of your stakeholder, basically. So it's very, very important to be able to listen. So spend more time listening to your stakeholders than actually talking and solutionizing. Curiosity is also very important. Never assume as a BA, because any sort of ambiguity, you want to be able to clear that. And so no question is stupid when you're a BA. You want to ask every question during the initial phase of analysis. I also have this nice picture here that shows you what a business analyst is like. So you've got Mr. B right here trying to break out of prison, and you've got his esteemed colleague right here asking him, where are you going to get the clothes from and how are you going to get over the fence? Now, he's trying to break out of prison, but he hasn't really thought that far ahead. So as a business analyst, you want to be able to think about the full picture. So not just what am I going to do the next minute, but what are you going to do to reach your end goal? So we've talked about, the skills of a business analyst, and we've talked about the roles of a business analyst. Now, I want to dive into more of the techniques of a business analyst. These are some of the techniques of a business analyst that as you can see in here. So while you're actually doing the job, you're going to use a lot of this. So critical success factor, context diagram, big picture, function hierarchy, network architecture plan, workflow diagram, organization chart, entity relationship model. You use things like use case diagram, use case description, and lots of these things, as we go through this model, we'll teach you, obviously. SWOT analysis, PESTEL, five forces, and I'm sure a lot of people would have come across some of this in here. We'll go to the next page. So there's more again, we've got brainstorming, round robin. Have you given up yet? Because there's still more. And some business analysts will even tell you this is not all, which I've listed. If you have a look at them, don't be discouraged because obviously as we go on towards this, we will teach you on how to select some of these techniques. So you have some of them which you look at in terms of type as hard stroke soft techniques. In terms of usage, how do you want to analyze them? How do you want to model them? How are you going to communicate them to different stakeholders? Your audience is also very important. You can have audiences that are very technical, so you drum out more technical techniques while you're approaching your audience, or for the less technical or more business-minded audience, you use obviously more business-focused techniques. Now, that's some of the things we will talk about, probably not in this webinar, but any sort of future sort of webinars we do have, where you are able to tailor some of these techniques to the different audiences. In terms of documentation, there are so many different ways of documenting, as a business analyst, and templates that you could use. And again, I've got a whole load of them which I use, and in terms of selecting them, as you go on, obviously, we'll be able to help you in terms of selecting some of those documentations. Mastering these techniques now, for me, basically, these are the main ways I think, in terms of mastering this technique. So one of them is very, very important is networking. So the more you network with other business analysts while you're in the role, you're able to see potentially, which are the techniques now. So what techniques have failed in what aspects, and what techniques have worked in other aspects. So while networking with others, they would let you know, and you could discuss this. Courses, obviously, this is some of the things, in this course going forward in January, we'll talk about where some of the techniques and how you master them. Obviously, you would need to do private study of your, by yourself as well, on some of the different techniques, and work experience is also really important. So, majority of the skills I do have, in terms of mastering a lot of these techniques, has been built through private study and work experience. So, just not to discourage you, I was going to provide a slide that gives you sort of, a basic toolkit to utilize or using some of these techniques. So, um, if you're talking about your business strategy and objectives, piston analysis and SWOT analysis, obviously, I think those two ones are really good in terms of, and later on in the session, I will talk more about, later on in the webinar, I'll talk more about pistol and SWOT and how they're being used. You have investigating situations, so you use things like rich pictures. You have interviews with your different stakeholders, organizing workshops, and using context diagrams. Again, earlier I talked about when to use certain techniques. So again, depending on how technical or what kind of audience you're sort of talking to, you would utilize, some of these other techniques. You need to, in terms of considering different perspectives. So this is more for the business analysts when they're considering, when they've spoken to all the different stakeholders and they want to understand what basically the different solutions are from the different stakeholders and the problem statements from different stakeholders. So this is where, stakeholder management, the template you use, there's something called a cartwheel diagram as well. It's more like a rich picture as well. That's commonly used, your BAMs, your RSSCI. Looking at your analysis needs, you utilize things like gap analysis, value chain analysis, organizational diagram. Again, you can use two or more of this when you're doing sort of your business analysis framework. Evaluating options as well, defining requirements. So for defining requirements, you use things like scenarios, storyboarding, Moscow, uh, and obviously your change management. So again, for change management, I've put again some of the cool tool sets and techniques that you could use as well. And there will be, I have all these templates that are built already, and a lot of the and all of them are industry standard templates. So a question in here, as a business analyst, is business analysis a good career? So this is a question. This I put this out as a question, to everyone basically. So personally, for me, business analysis is a really good career. It's a very, very lucrative career um, for within the industry. So it gives you that sort of a good, obviously from entry level, it gives you sort of a good understanding of the strategic, not just the tactical goals of the organization, but the strategic goals of the organization. And it gives you a good understanding of all your different stakeholders, how to negotiate with your different stakeholders, how to bridge that sort of gap between obviously IT and your IT and the business, and gives you that full picture, which most people that join organizations do not have. So you're able to use that in terms of your movements. You're able to use that while you're networking, with the different stakeholders within the business, and that's why you see a lot of business analysts, um, permanent business analysts climbing the career ladder very, very quickly because they understand, sort of the politics that is played within the organization. So it's well understood by most business analysts, and it allows them climb that career ladder, really, really quickly. So being a good analyst is a good career choice, I would say, and it provides opportunity for lifelong learning and addresses the challenges to provide solutions to business problems. Most importantly, the profession is continuing to develop and grow professionally, keeping in pace, with the current changes in the environment. So the ever evolving tech changes that are happening, you always require a business analyst, irrespective of the industry you're in. Roadmap to becoming a business analyst. I put a slide in. I thought it was really good because it gives everyone that sort of, again, we've got a mix of people on this webinar. So we've got people who um, are very, very new to business analysis, and we've got probably some junior analysts on this webinar, and we've got more experienced analysts on this business analysts on this webinar. So prior to joining, obviously you need so basically to determine to be a BA, you need to obviously study and practice. So I think further on in future webinars, we're going to create some study curriculums and practice sections for different BAs that allows you gain that sort of entry level to most of the interviews that are going to be done. So the next one I put in here was apply business analysis to your career. So mostly when you're already a business analyst or when you've done, the study and the practice, you look at your current capabilities, and so basically you see a job specification, you look at the desired skills and knowledge that are within the job specification, then and you look at, what's the gap between my current skills that I've learned or I've studied and the desired skill set that is required to gain this job. Now, what will be done, in future webinars, what we're going to discuss is basically provide the resources and the learning to bridge that gap between your current capabilities and where you want to be able to get those jobs. Also, a very important one is preparing for interviews, and majorly, when you've got the right skill set to perform in a job, you need to have a really good CV, and that's something one-on-one. You can contact me at any point. We can look through your CV and prepare you for those future interviews. Thank you very much. I hope I was able to sort of cover most of what you've talked about business analysis, and yeah, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much for the lecture. It was insightful. I was thrilled. I've got different insights on business analysts, and I've known the skills I need to have to become one. Thank you very much. Please, if you have any question, please you can put it in the chat box, Dabo, or you can raise your hands. We have some questions already in the chat
I can
box.
actually
Would you
see,
like me
yeah,
to read?
I can see a couple of questions. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no. I can see that now. So I'll just go through the questions. Yeah. So yeah, so there's a question on the difference between a business analyst and a developer. A business analyst basically is the person in the middle that is sort of bridging that sort of gap between the developer and your business stakeholders, or your project sponsor. So the developer is the one writing the code, or you have your solutions architect who are understanding the architecture of different systems and trying to solutionize to provide the solutions to the problem statement. The business analyst is right in the middle, understanding what the requirements are or the problem is, and working closely with the developers and the solutions architect to be able to build to that solution or to be able to build to that requirement. The next question: how can you transition into BA from scratch? What level of entry can one enter as a BA realistic with no experience? So yeah, so that's a really good question actually. Transitioning to be so again, it depends on what you are currently doing. So like for me, for instance, I was a computer, so I had a degree in computer engineering, and then I had a master's in information of IT. Post then, I did my interviews, and I got a job. I landed a job as a junior BA, where I went through training, and this was in Berkeley as well, where I got I think 6 months training prior to me, being a full business analyst. So that is one route. Some people, obviously, the route that we would sort of push to you right now is, because obviously the job market is quite tough, is to go through this sort of training where we would provide you with the skill set, the tools, the knowledge of being a business analyst, and you would also have the portfolio, because there will be a series of tasks, and you would have that portfolio, which again will be attached to your profile. So when you're going out to potential employers, you'll be able to say, you look at the skill set, you look at the job profile, and you'll be able to say, okay, I have all the skills to match this job. And then you'll be able to evidence that to your different sort of, interviewers, or, potential people that are providing the job to yourself. Um, let's see what other questions are there. Is there any question again from the floor?
Yes, that's a question.
Yes, please go on. Yeah.
I think someone is asking about the financial. Okay, let me just try to get there. Someone's asking. Okay.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. It's a really bad network. Yeah, sorry, go on. We have somebody raising their hands. Please go on.
Okay. Someone is raising their hands up. Okay. ID is raising their hands up. Can you ask your question, please, ID?
Hi, everyone.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Great presentation, I must say. I think I asked a question on the availability of the slide. I haven't heard anything on that.
Yeah, I'm happy to provide the slides. I think, Dr. Balogun, is this something we can do after? I'll provide the slides to you so you can, send this out to all participants on the call.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We can do that. So they will contact us and we'll be able to get the slides across to them. Yeah.
Okay. I like the aspect of having our portfolio created. I think that's one thing that RGU has done for me, because we have the tendency to have achieved so much, yet we don't talk about it. So the aspect of us having our portfolio out there, so that how do I call it now? Potential employers can see what we are capable of, is really something that I think is a big plus for us here. Hello?
Yeah, definitely. I absolutely agree with that, because obviously I am a guest to this current group, and I looked at some of the idea, the vision of the group, being able to provide what all the students have done, being able to provide as an evidence and have that as a link somewhere saved where potential employers can look at. I thought was it's a massive selling point. And in terms of some of the materials, that the students, or some of the problem statements that the students will work on, would be more industry standard problem statements that are very current issues within the industry. And so that will be looked at, by the different students, and will be worked on, obviously with myself, or whoever, other experienced business analysts will be joining the team as well. So again, I think that is something, while I was applying as a junior business analyst years ago, um, was not available. And it was, so when you go to interviews, it's only you only go when you talk about, your skill set and what you have, but you do not have a way of showcasing what it is you can do. And having that way of showcasing it, I think, is a massive selling point, and should put you right ahead of the line.
Okay, sorry, I hope I'm not taking too much of your time.
No problem, go on.
Okay, I know this program is supposed to commence, is it first week of January, if I'm not mistaken? My question is, before then, are there materials, are there things we can at least go through in order to get ourselves prepared? Because I am a beginner, and if there's anybody that doesn't like data, it is me. But since I'm told it is our next, what was it again? ATM machine, hence my interest in data. So is there anything we can do, at least we can, to get ourselves prepared ahead of time, so that by the time we are starting the lecture, it will be that we are entering in with full swing?
Doctor, can you take that question, please?
Yeah, I can manage that. And got some stuffs in my mouth, working from home, we keep putting things in our mouth as well. So sorry about that. So the answer to that is yes. So what you need to do, if you drop us an email, so Mr. T has shared the email in the chat, info@intelenavis.com, and then tell us exactly what you would like, what you would want, and we'll be able to give you some of the stuff that you require. And then you talked about when the program is going to start. So the next screening
Yes.
cohort is resuming on Saturday, 13th of January, 2024. So if you look in the chat just now, there's a URL, a Google form that's been shared by a moderator. So we need people to fill in that Google form. We shared it yesterday. So if you completed the form yesterday, you obviously don't need to do it today.
Unfortunately, I was busy yesterday, so I couldn't attend the
Okay.
class.
So whoever has completed the form yesterday, obviously don't need to do it today, but the form is there. Just click on the form. So the link is there in the chat just now, and give us the information there. Immediately after this webinar series, we're going to contact you. And so all the stuff that you require, so when you get registered and everything, all that you require, as you said, you want to start looking through stuffs, we obviously will be able to send that across to you. And then on the 13th of January, we'll be onboarding new trainees into the system, and you have opportunity to meet all of the trainers, Greg, Mr. T, myself, and some other persons that will be joining from the wider group. Yeah.
Thank you very,
Yeah,
very
cool.
much.
Cool.
Thanks, Heidi. I can see another question from Priscilla. So
Yeah.
I think the question is based on the similarity between business analysis and no, in terms of the finance aspect, the pay
So
between BAs and data analysts. Well, yeah. So I tried not to put any slides on the financial aspect of BA in this sort of webinar. So basically, based on my research, and again, you can carry out research. So so different. You've got your PEM staffs, and you've also got your day rate contractors. I've sort of done both of them. And so for your PEM staff, I think for starting salary for a BA is something between 35,000 and 50 grand. And for mid-level to senior BAs, you have from I think about 80 grand to about 140 for your PEM staff. For day rates, it's even better. So for day rates, you have for entry level staff, I think about 350 pounds a day. Um, if you are slightly experienced, when I say slightly experienced, you go about 2 or 3 years being a BA, it goes up to about, from 450 to about £700 a day. So quite similar to data analysis, I would say. Yes, it is. Is there any other questions?
Then another question. If you have any questions, please put in your questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you. What about junior BAs, for people who are sort of like, inexperienced? What's the entry levels for those, and what's the pay scale approximately for those, please, sir?
Yeah, so for junior BAs in the UK, I can talk about. I think the US again for the figures, the US are slightly higher. For the UK, the entry level is I think is starting from 35 grand.
Thank you, sir.
No
Right.
problem.
Please, there's a form, there's a Google form in the chat box. Please kindly go in and fill it up. Thank you. I can see the Victor Opera's hand is up. Can you please proceed with your questions?
All right, thanks. And good evening,
Welcome.
everyone. Thanks,
Good
the
evening.
moderator and the presenter. So my question to the presenter is, I see this package they call Power BI Desktop in Microsoft Office, and I see a lot of people make use of that in doing some analysis kind of stuff. So I want to find out, the Power BI, how does it also relate with the business analyst or business analysis package or whatever? I don't know if my question is clear.
Yeah, it is. It is. So just a quick question: were you in yesterday's session?
I came in just almost like when it's almost done, so I missed that of yesterday.
Okay, no, that's fine. So, Power BI, again, Doctor, correct me if I'm wrong here, is more of a visualization tool. So you're able to take in data. It could be, import data. It could be from Excel sheets, or it could be integrated to some sort of database where you import data from, and you're able to, use that to be able to crunch data and visualize data to your different stakeholders. So that's how business analysts use Power BI. So again, I think the crossover between business analysis and data analysis is quite similar there in terms of providing data-driven solutions to your different stakeholders. In terms of the package for that's held by the company, I think that's more. Again, I'm a guest speaker to this, and I'm just joining. So I think Doctor can give more about how people within or new students or new entrants can use the package.
Okay, thank you very much, Greg. And I think everything you've said is right. So you talked about Power BI Desktop. So Power BI Desktop is the one you install in your computer. And then there's Power BI Service. Power BI Service is more like software as a service kind of thing. So it's a web platform. So it does almost the same thing, about 70-80% the same thing, but there are some tasks you need to do on your specific computer, which is on Power BI desktop. And after that, you can share this thing for every other person or whoever you want to see it in your organizations. So there's a lot about role level security and all that. So different persons can now see what you've done in the Power BI service. So what I showed yesterday, which was Zoho, is more like the way Power BI service works. So that Zoho visualization I did yesterday for that dashboard, I didn't have to install anything on my computer. Everything was just on the website. That's just what Power BI service is. So as an organization, we train on Power BI, and every person that comes on our program, they've got access to Microsoft 365. So it's part of the thing that we pay for our trainees. So you'll be able to learn Power BI. So everybody is expected to download Power BI Desktop on their respective computers. And when you finish your work, you can now share it with other persons within the organization. That will now be Power BI service. So that's the difference between the two, but pretty much the same thing. Just some differences are what you would see. And the main difference is one, you have an installation on your computer, another one, you don't have at all. And talking about the crossover between data analysts and business analysts, sometimes it depends on organizations, because there are some business analysts that also know how to build dashboards and visualizations in Power BI. In some other organizations, they don't. So the data analyst will build all of the visualizations, and then it's kind of a self-service business intelligence tool where the BA that needs to get information just go on the dashboard, click on different filters, click on different slicers, and you can get the numbers that you require to make strategic business decisions and to advise policymakers or senior stakeholders, basically. So while the data analyst will build everything, the business analyst, they can always feed on it. So which we call self-service BI. So that's a good crossover between the both of them. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the clarity.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I don't know if I'm permitted to ask just one more question.
Yes, please go ahead.
All right. So my question is, or my worry, or my confusion right now is how, the program that is going to start in January will help those of us like myself that know nothing about, this environment. I'm completely blank when it comes to this environment, and I really want to build a career in it. So for those of us, at the tutoring stage, or have not even started at all, how do we go about, wanting to start? Some of us are almost getting old. Let me put it that way. Well, I don't want to believe it's age anyway, but there are certain things that maybe you might not really want to interest you. So if this package we're going to do, is it going to help? Maybe is it going to be things like on the graphical things that could actually spur one's interest the more? And I hope it's not something that's going to look that abstract that could dampen one's, that could slow down one's drive to really catch up with this. I don't know if my question is clear.
Yeah, your question is clear. And then what I would like to assure you is what we do is we appreciate the fact that some people know a little bit or some good amount of these things, some other persons don't. You will notice that the speaker today, he said he put this thing at 3 levels and did ask people to put it at 1, 2, or 3, just to capture the fact that we have varying knowledge, understanding in this area. So, and the thing I want to drive from that is that we're very cognizant of the fact that our knowledge and ability in this thing is very, very diverse, and we make our trainings to be as inclusive as possible with full consideration to the diversity in our knowledge base as learners. So we start from the very foundation of what data is, different types of data, and then we talk about all of those things. We're kind of very granular. And even though you see we're discussing Power BI based upon your question, but the very first thing we do in our training is Excel, because Excel is a foundation for anything we're doing and almost everything we're doing. So we always start by training in Excel, and we go to very minute details about this is a cell, this is a cell reference, this is a column, this is a rule, and stuff like that. And then you want to write a function, you want to write a formula, those things that will really try to make sure it's as simplified as possible from the very beginning. So we build on it. So we build on it from known, get to the unknown. You know that one, you go to another level. So we try to go very, very slowly. And another thing we do is all of our training sessions are recorded. I talked about that yesterday. And the idea is that people can obviously go back and rewatch these things, so you can slow it, you can pause it while you're trying to build your knowledge in this thing. So all of our training sessions, for those in the cohort, everything is recorded. We have about 16 or 17 videos now, and the total number of hours is already, I think, more than 50 hours right now that we have everything stored where people can go back and revisit this thing. So I'm just trying to say we have consideration for the fact that many people or everybody or some people don't know some of these foundation things, and we don't just jump over them. We try to carry everybody along. So that's an assurance that I can give.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay. I think we still got a question.
Okay.
Oluwatobi Agbolo got a question. Could you please proceed with that? Oluwatobi, are you still there?
Yeah, yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay.
So my question
Please.
is there a form of business analysis that may be linked with data science? Did you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'll take that question. Yes. So again, when I talked about the skills and some of the tools that you would use, so there's a lot of crossover, between some of the tools that business analysts do use and so when we start looking at some those tools that are being used between BAs and data scientists or data analysts. And again, like Doctor mentioned, again, it's how they are being used and into what detail they are being used or they are being required. So like, again, like I said, in some organizations, you get data analysts or BAs, building dashboards, or in some other organizations, you get BAs not building dashboards, but utilizing the insights that are being used from that dashboard, going in there, running reports, now getting that information and using that information there to be able to provide data-driven solutions to their different stakeholders. So again, it depends on the organization and it depends on what level, but there's a crossover in some organizations. To be honest, you get business analysts being referred to as data analysts, and in some organizations you get data analysts being referred to as business analysts, and that's why you have a lot of the tool sets and the skill sets being quite similar. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yes, it does. Yes, it does. Thank you.
No problem.
Tony, I can see your hands up. Could you please proceed? You're on mute if
We
you're
can
talking. We
hear
can
you.
hear
Thank
you,
you,
Tony.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so the question Agbola asked was a nice segue for me to make a comment. Just after my master's in data science, my first BA role, Greg is smiling now. He more or less held my hand because I got that job as a SQL developer, but my boss said, go and chase the data. So I was just given a BA role, having applied for something completely different. So that understanding or that link between data science, BA, and several other roles, you can find that. And for Intelinavics, as Doctor and everyone has said, what we really do is we just build from the ground up. We start from the very basics and then just work our way onto giving you that advanced skill level. So that's a comment I just thought I should mention. Greg, nice seeing you after so many years.
you as well.
Thank you.
You as well.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Please, if you have not filled the form in the chat box, please do that for us. And I'll hand over the platform to Tony for a final note. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining this webinar. So tomorrow we'll be having another session at the same time and that we did start today. Please make our time to join. And the most important thing with these few days, it's to help you take a decision on getting into the IT environment overall, the data analysis, business analysis, agile, cybersecurity, whichever of these areas you want to get into. So we look forward to you joining tomorrow, and then do send us any communication via info@telenavis.com. Ask your questions, and we probably make requests for some of the slides and the Excel sheet that Chinda mentioned on Monday. Also follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, We would like to really connect with you and hopefully expect you to join our session starting in January. Welcome and thank you so much. So very much. Thank you, Greg, and thank you, the moderator. And we'll catch up again tomorrow, same time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr.
Thanks,
Greg, for the
everyone.
presentation. And to everyone that have joined us, we say thank you and hope to catch up with you tomorrow. And don't forget to fill the form and please invite others. Thank you. Have a good night, Trace.
Thank you,
Thanks, yes.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank
Very,
you.
very, very
Thank-
grateful to hear you
Thank
speak tonight.
you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Just
Catch you guys tomorrow again at 7 p.m. UK time, 8 p.m. Nigerian time. And thanks a lot, Nurse Achuku, for helping us share tonight's session. Very grateful.
Thank you, Dr. Yakubu.
Cool. I'm going to end the meeting now. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you and good night.
Thank you.